Hello, my name is FARHANA binti Cik Rahim. My matric number 152006. So, I'm going to talk about the main idea in the story of The Murder in the Roanoke by the Edgar Allan Poe. The Murder in the Roanoke, a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, was first published in Graham's magazine in 1841. The overall message or argument being made by the author about the topic of this story is all about the man who investigates the murder, is not a real detective, and instead studies the crime for his own amusement. The man who investigates this case is Auguste Dupin, and from part 1 until part 6, this person was involved in settling the investigation. Obviously, the main idea of this story is to tell the reader that Auguste Dupin is the main character of this story. How Auguste Dupin can be involved in this case of murder? Because in the morning of summer, he and his friend read the newspaper about tribal killings in an old house in the Roanoke. The old woman and her daughter are the ones that have been killed. The newspaper that they read gives some information about the case, but it is really disappointing when the police do not find any clues that could lead them to find the real culprit. But with the powerful mind of Auguste Dupin had, he went to the place where the murders happened, and using the information that he read from the newspaper, he already could find the clues that lead to who was the real culprit. Finally, all the investigation leads him to find the real culprit.
Assalamualaikum and hi doctor, my name is Nur Aisha. My matric number is 150816. So I'm going to explain the supporting details in the short story The Murders in the Rue Morgue. So first I'm going to explain the definitions of the supporting details. So supporting details describe the main idea. They make the main idea stronger and clearer. Moreover, supporting details clarify, illuminate, explain, describe, expand, and illustrate the main idea. So it will help people to comprehend better of the main idea and make them understand better about the story. So I already read the story The Murders in the Rue Morgue, and the author really did a great job with describing the supporting details in the story. Okay, first let's take a look at the supporting details according to story part. So in these supporting details, I chose part 1, part 2, part 5, and part 6 as an examples. So in the first part of the story, the supporting details is Auguste Dupin's background and his personality, because the main idea in this part is about Auguste Dupin's. So, for example, in part 1, paragraph 2, where his friend said Dupin was the last member of a well-known family, a family which had once been rich and famous. And we can also see another supporting details about his personality in paragraph 5, which is his friend quotes against, but Dupin was a lover of the night. So for the part 2 of the story, the supporting details is the murder's description. So because the main idea in this part is about the murder in the Rue Morgue, which has been published in the newspaper. So we can see the example in part 2, paragraph 3, where the people said, quickly they forced the door open, and they saw spread before them a bloody, sickening scene. And another explanation about the murder is in paragraph 4, a sharp knife covered with blood everywhere, on the floor, on the bed, on the walls. So that's for the descriptions of the murder scene. So we're moving on to part 5. The supporting details is the characteristic of an orangutan, because in this part the main idea is about the orangutan. So we can see the supporting details where Dupin said orangutan, one of those man-like animals that live in the wild forest. The great size, the strength, the wildness of this animal are well known. So, last but not least, we have the seller's explanation about his orangutan in part 6, the last part of the story. So in this part, the main idea is about the seller guy who is involved in orangutan in bringing orangutan to Paris. So for example, we went into that forest for pleasure. There we saw this orangutan, a big animal, but we were two and we caught it. We took it with us on the ship. Another explanation also has been described by the seller. For example, in the end, I brought it back to Paris with me. I keep it in my house. So that's all for the supporting details according to story parts, and I chose part 1, part 2, part 5, and part 6 as my example. So the conclusion is supporting details plays an important role to describe the main idea because it demonstrates the validity of the main idea and help the reader to understand more about the ideas of something, because people will not understand just by looking or read at the main idea alone. So supporting details is very crucial in one story or describing one story. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SITI NURFAEDZAH binti Ramli. My matric number is 151690. So today I will present one of the reading skill, which is predictions. Okay, as we know, prediction is something like we think about what will happen, what is happening in the story, and what we already know based on our knowledge. So how to predict? We look at the book cover, title, chapter heading, and pictures and conclusions. With the 4 important things, we can guess what is the type of genre, setting, characters, problems of the stories, how will the problem solve, the dialogue we expect to hear, the organization that will the text have. For example, we choose the story title The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Okay, we can guess the genre of this book will be mystery, suspense, detective, and horror because of the words murder prove our predictions. Our predictions might be right, thus the word is about killing someone. We all know what the murders means. Something bad that happening to someone is the bad word after all. Next is introductions. We can predict the setting of the killing scene will be at the Rue Morgue in 1814 because of the title and the introductions. If you read the introductions, Paris. In Paris it was. In the summer of 1814, there I first met the strange and interesting young fellow, Auguste Dupin. So we can predict Rue Morgue might be some place at the Paris because Paris and the years was mentioned by the narrator in the introduction. Next, we can assume that the character will be the narrator himself because he used the first person of view in the writing, which is I. Beside him, he also mentioned some strange and interesting young fellow named Auguste Dupin. Without there will be 2 main characters in this story. Next is chapter headings. As we know, the title is about murder. There may be some problems of dissatisfactions that lead to the victim being killed. This book will tell the story of something that may have been the cause of the murder and may contain plot twists. In addition, the problem may involve the police or an investigation to identify who the killers was and why the victim was killed. Because it's murder, we can know police will involve in this case. Next is the problem will probably been solved by the author himself or Argus Dupin, as they are the main character. So that's all we can predict about this story. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Dalilah binti Dali with method number 150767, and I will explain about reading skills existing. What is reading? Reading is the behavior or purposefully digesting handwritten, printed, and pictorial text. Readers understand what they are really reading should make logical sense. They keep track of their interpretation, and if they lose sight of what they have been reading, they will reflexively choose and utilize many reading strategies to enable readers to reconnect with the text content. There are many reading strategy skills to use, such as predicting, skimming, inferencing, and many more. We will talk about skimming. Skimming is a reading skill that enables moving quickly through text using rapid eye movement and keyword phrases for a variety of reasons. Skimming could allow you spare hours of time while reading. It is a nice method to get a taste of boring reading. Sometimes, skimming might lead to missing essential points or misinterpret the deeper shades of meaning, necessitating quick reading or even study reading. Skimming also is a nice method to get a brief overview of your text paragraph or to prepare for a quiz. When conducting preliminary research for a paper, for example, use skimming to decide whether you would like to read anything at all. Skimming can tell you much about the paragraph's main concept and characters and how similar or different it is from other sources to conclude whether you would like to read it at all. When skimming, you will not read every word in the paragraph. Instead, you will focus on typographical clues like headings, bold text and italic font, indenting, and bulleted and numbered lists. You will be the first on the eye for essential phrases and words, peoples and places, names, times, nouns, and unusual vocabulary when reading. We can use the example in the Murder in the Rue Morgue, which is the readers that use the skimming method will read the paragraph that contain phrases or text in big bold letters or italic quickly. In chapter 1, the paragraph is about the background of the protagonist, Auguste Dupin. The word well known is in bold letters. This is where the reader would know about the protagonist's background, which is from a rich family. For the italic font, italics are widely implemented to highlight names and descriptions in the sentence phrases. For example, witnesses who heard noises at the time of the murder would italicize to attract the reader's attention to a certain part of the text while skimming. That is all from me. Thank you.